Real quick before we begin, over 16 years helping recruitment agencies grow, I've seen it time and time again. Recruiters stuck with roller coaster results that put a handbrake on growth. I've worked with over 1,000 recruiters to build the 90K in 90 days business development blueprint for confident business development and consistent results. It's a leading data-backed sales methodology for recruiters today. It's trusted by high-performing recruiters worldwide, including million-dollar billers. So if you're a recruitment business leader looking to boost BD and grow your business, I'd like to invite you to book a blueprint call with me. The link is in the show notes, so please go check it out. I look forward to hearing from you.
Consulting is so important for the future and the next generation of recruitment agencies. There has to be a certain amount of frameworks around pre-sourcing, sourcing, customer engagement, looking at employer branding.
Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Reiss McNally, the founder of Molecular Search. Reiss is making big waves in the recruitment industry, combining cutting-edge technology and consulting to completely change how clients in his space approach hiring.
There's been a couple of conversations where we've had really exciting engagements with CDMOs about Node, and they're really passionate about changing the way that they engage with candidates, changing the way that they are perceived to candidates.
In this episode, Reiss will share how Molecular Search is using AI to transform recruitment practices. We'll hear about their unique platform Node that helps companies nurture and engage top talent, creating a real competitive edge.
Often we use examples around ecosystems and how can we transform a client's brand to really attract those candidates into their ecosystem.
We'll also explore some eye-opening insights on how AI can take candidate engagement to new levels from recruiters actually doing it.
And I think with that consulting piece, if we can break down the frameworks around pre-sourcing, sourcing, customer engagement, candidate experience, and then post-placement, I think that is going to be the next generation of how we transform our clients' hiring process.
This episode is a must-listen for recruiters and recruitment leaders who are looking to see how tech is changing the current landscape. So, let's dive in. Welcome back to the show. Today I'm joined by Reece McNally, co-founder of Molecular Search. I get the opportunity to work with hundreds of recruitment businesses and thousands of recruiters, and what Reece is doing with Molecular is one of the most truly innovative and disruptive things that I've seen in the recruitment industry. Reece, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Absolute pleasure. Now, today we're going to dig into your story, not only around disruption, but also around the way you've built a business that combines technology and consulting to really change the way that your clients and clients in your industry approach hiring. It's a fascinating story, one that I've been very fortunate to see up close and personal. And I know how difficult that road of implementing technology and making that change has been. We'll talk about that today and really unpack it. But what I wanted to start with was, I guess, what it was that led you to consider making that change and really investing the way you have in transforming your business.
It's a real pleasure to be here. I'm grateful for the invite. I think the journey has been a fascinating one. I think the journey probably stemmed from the start of 2024. We had a large team and it was very driven by headcount, and it was fantastic. It was really good. We had a great team culture, we had a great business. I quickly realized the way technology was advancing was changing the landscape of recruitment, some for the better and some for the worst. And I embarked on that journey to make sure that we would be at the forefront of that. And we went through a big transition phase to ensure that Molecular can be at the forefront of that industry where we're utilizing technology and consulting in a transformative way. I think the way it starts is a really funny story with my co-founder.
Yeah, right. Well, tell us the story.
Well, Shay's my co-founder, and he went on holiday at the back end of 2023. And I heard of a couple of like AI tools. I know it's a big buzzword, but I heard of a couple of tools and really wanted to do some research into them. I was really passionate about how we could improve that candidate experience and that customer experience for our clients. And he went away. I didn't really know what to do with myself without Shay. So started doing some research, and we found some really cool ways that we could implement into our business that could transform the way we help clients hire. I took that to Shay, and Shay threw it out the window straight away. I think he was blown away by what was possible.
What were those tools that you were looking at the start of the journey while Shay was on holiday? What specifically, or what parts of the process were you looking at?
I mean, the biggest process was the sourcing element of the recruitment process. I think we quickly realised that in a static industry that we're in, it was so important to build these communities of candidates that we could really nurture and help clients engage with those specific communities. And I thought there has to be a better way that we could source those talent pools.
Because you had quite a big team doing that at the time.
We did. We had a really big team. And at times, I'll be honest, it was clunky. I think the human possibilities of reaching out to a certain talent pool of people can only be restricted by time. And I felt that we were stretched as a team. We were really stretched. And it wasn't delivering the best possible service that we could. Everyone knows the word clay. Everyone's heard of how clay could be implemented in B2B and SaaS businesses. And I think it's trickling down to recruitment businesses as a whole. But there was a huge bottleneck with it. And when I showed clay to Shay, he quickly said, no, this is not going to work. This won't replace humans.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, clay is... How would you describe clay?
It's a great question. In my eyes, clay is a spreadsheet on steroids. That's the plane of it. I think, all jokes aside, clay is a tool that can enable a load of different technologies, bring them together and create a really nice piece of outreach, really nice piece of research that can help any businesses in SaaS, B2B or the recruitment space.
Yeah, it's that. I love that spreadsheet analogy where I see that almost what I used to say was every column can be an AI prompt, but actually every cell can be an AI prompt. Yes. And so the dynamics of it get really interesting. This isn't a technology podcast. I don't want to go too deeply into that. But what I think is interesting about your story is that you looked at what you were doing, you saw potentially some inefficiencies or at least some opportunity to do things better, went through a process of downsizing the team as a result of that as you brought the technology into play. But actually, we're still at the point in this story where Shay was unconvinced. So what did it take to convince Shay it could work?
Absolute months and months of convincing. Shay was instrumental in helping transform the approach that we take. There was a lot of back and forth, and clay wasn't just one of the tools that we used. There was a multitude of tools that we were trialing and error. There was a lot of trial and error. A lot of them didn't work.
Yeah, right.
And I think, it's going to sound controversial, but a lot of the recruitment tools in the industry, I don't think are designed by recruiters that genuinely help the candidate and the client journey. And Shay took a lot of convincing. There was a lot of times where Shay went, no, this is not going to work. We need to keep with growing the team with the headcount. And I was absolutely convinced that there was a better way to do that, to create a better process for the industry. So yeah, it took a lot of convincing.
So bring us up to speed then. We've talked a little bit about where you were at the end of 2023, and we're pretty much 12 months on from that now. So what is it that you've implemented in the business? What is it that's helped you position as so innovative and disruptive in your industry?
Sure. Apart from blood, sweat and tears, there has been a real journey in our business where we wanted to take our legacy recruitment knowledge and implement that to really become a talent consultancy for the CDMO industry. And I can take you through the vertical that we're in. And within that, there was a couple of processes that we had to change and deliver. And part of that is our 3 pillars that we really stand by, and that's transparency, technology, and transformation. And we embarked on that journey of becoming a talent consultancy. Within that, we built a platform called Node. And Node is an excellent platform for anyone looking to really transform their hiring. Node stands for nurture, outreach, develop, and engage. Okay. So essentially enabling a talent identification platform, layering world-class consultancy on top of that to really transform the way that our clients hire.
Nice. Okay, so take me through Node in a little bit more detail, if you would then. So you said that the acronym is nurture.
Yeah. Outreach, develop, and engage.
Excellent. Okay, cool. Take me through what that means in terms of how the technology plays a role in that. Help me understand what Node is from an outsider's perspective. And I'm conscious that we have lots of people listening to this who perhaps aren't using AI in their business or aren't using kind of the same sort of sourcing strategies. So maybe let's go a bit more granular on this to break down what Node is.
Node is an education process. Node is one of those platforms that we've spent 9 months really refining to enable our clients to make the best informed decisions when it comes to hiring. And that's taken into consideration a number of factors. And of course, speaking honestly, I'd love to break it down and tell people how we're using that. So Node in itself is a number of AI tools where we can essentially map out a number of market maps within a matter of hours, and we can personalize outreach to candidates through some really unique channels that we're using, which is increasing engagement rate. Clients are really seeing the way that they hire transform, and we layer a number of consulting frameworks on top of that to ensure that that client is going through that process of, okay, the legacy part of recruitment is no longer working, and what we need to do is leverage a number of AI tools, leverage a number of machine learning frameworks, and layer some consultancy on the top to really become, it really enables clients to turn their hiring into a competitive advantage. And I know you speak about that a lot, but it's something that I'm really passionate about. And I think Node as a product can really do that for our clients.
So let me understand this, just check my understanding on this. So Node is the kind of the sourcing engine or the machine at the core of molecular search. The broader business does a lot of consulting work to make sure that that sourcing is aligned well with the business and is driving the way they hire forward. But Node itself is your ability to source entire markets super rapidly in a couple of hours. And we're talking big markets here, aren't we? We're talking sort of thousands of candidates mapped in a few hours. And then that outreach piece and that sequence of outreach to engage them. For lots of people, the idea of having AI or using automation in outreach is a concern or a consideration. So if we're thinking about an environment where you've mapped out thousands of contacts off the back of a job briefing, you're sourcing that market. You've mapped the market over a period of hours. How long does it then take for you to engage candidates using that automation, and what sort of results do you get from that?
I think it's a really good point. I think the concern around how AI is used is justified. It really is. I think over the past 2 years, even when ChatGPT came out, there was a lot of, oh my God, what could this do for our business? The way we see it is it's an enhancement. It enhances the way that we source, and particularly talking about the nurture element or the outreach element, the way that sourcing can be delivered in such a short period of time really means that we need to be absolutely clear on how we engage and outreach those candidates. And I think some of the unique ways that we're doing that, and I won't give too much away, but there's some really unique ways that we're doing that where we're seeing engagement rates go up to 35 or 40% in a campaign. And that's the difference between allowing a client to see the totality of that addressable market to really ensure that they can make the right decision. And I think the concern around, okay, you can develop a market map so quickly, are those messages spammy or are they generic? And they're not. We are truly in a business where we build communities of talent pools, and working really closely with our clients to develop some of that dynamic messaging is really transforming that engagement rate.
I love everything you're doing with that. And I think that really does speak to people's concerns around the technology. You've also mentioned the consulting side of the business. And I know that's something that we've been working together actually to evolve and get in front of the clients in the right way. Can you tell me a little bit about what your vision for that consulting element of the business is and why that's so important to you?
It's a great question, and definitely don't downplay the level of work that you've done with that. I think when you look at Node as a sourcing engine and the ability to reach those levels of candidates, there is a certain number of frameworks in the back end that really need to be layered on top to make sure that that process runs smoothly. The reason why I think consulting is so important for the future and the next generation of recruitment agencies is there has to be a certain amount of frameworks around pre-sourcing, sourcing, customer engagement, looking at employer branding. You know this quite well. There's been a couple of conversations where we've had really exciting engagements with CDMOs about Node, and they're really passionate about changing the way that they engage with candidates, changing the way that they are perceived to candidates. Often we use examples around ecosystems and how can we transform a client's brand to really attract those candidates into their ecosystem. And I think with that consulting piece, if we can break down the frameworks around pre-sourcing, sourcing, customer engagement, candidate experience, and then post-placement, I think that is going to be the next generation of how we transform our clients' hiring process.
Yeah, I hear you. And I think that speaks exactly to some of the stuff that, we've talked about together, whereby, what you've done with Node effectively puts sourcing in a box.
Yeah.
It kind of says, there are tech tools out there that can do, if not end-to-end sourcing, certainly gives a really clear steer on the data and the market and get a long way with that. And I know you mentioned earlier that you've just started seeing the first offers coming through from candidates you've generated purely through automation, which is crazy and really exciting. But then it also kind of creates some accountability for the care and the service around making sure that the consulting piece is absolutely on point.
Absolutely. And I think the consulting piece doesn't just boil down to the client side. I think it boils down to the candidate side as well. I think sometimes, we've seen this a couple of times, when you hear about automation tools, there is an automatic turn-off around, well, automation is like those mail shots that everyone used to get. Like 10,000 emails sent out at once. And we've really tried to change the perception of what automation looks like. And I think enabling a consulting piece around, well, if the clients are transforming their hiring process, how can we transform the engagement around when we speak to candidates? How we take them through that hiring process. And I think it's really important. It's really important. Some of the things that we've seen really high engagements on around video interviews for clients just talking about their journey, their mission. And it's raising engagement rates with candidates by an enormous rate. And I think the world is changing so quickly of how we consume those types of contents. Before, it would be very easy to have all the information on a job description. Now, you have to change the way that you perceive a client to be. So, yeah, those are the kind of things we're doing.
So let's transition away from the technology a little bit there, because you mentioned something in that about how you can help your clients position themselves with their market, improve candidate experience, and boost your community, actually, that nurture communication through client videos and interviews. And I happen to know that you've recently completed a session with one of your clients where you've been creating some content with them. So I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that came off the back of a motivation to help clients improve their brand awareness. We were going through some consulting frameworks around how do we get these candidates into the ecosystem in a different way, and how do we really cut through some of the noise. And this specific client were really open to trying to become one of the number one CDMOs in the world with their hiring. And we did a full content day with one of the GMs, talking about the mission, talking about their value statements, talking about some of the specific positions that we're recruiting for, and the level of engagement that has transcribed to candidates having a positive impression of what that business can bring to them. And ultimately, it gives them an understanding of, well, this is what I'm walking into, rather than a job description on a bit of paper and jumping into an interview. It was like, oh my God, I can really connect with this person over video.
Yeah, right.
And it was something so simple. It was really simple, but it really helped the customer's brand. It really helped the community building feel of these talent pools that we're building. And overall, it was a great experience for everyone.
It sounds great. It also speaks volumes to the relationships that you have with your clients, that you're able to kind of put this sort of stuff in front of them. I imagine that not every client is excited or happy to jump in front of the camera, and it might not be possible for all of them to do that. But the fact that you've got these relationships, you can leverage to do that. And that, I guess, also brings us to how you position a disruptive approach to recruitment. It's all very well building the technology and creating something that is really different.
Yeah.
But how have you found taking that to market? What have you been, the core message that we share with recruiters through this podcast is all about, how do you sell and position recruitment? So take us through what it looks like from your perspective, running a very disruptive company, how you present that and how you're going about that.
A fantastic question. Hopefully by the time this is out, the rebrand has taken place. But we took some really small communities of clients where we really wanted to get feedback about what we were building. I think what was really important was when we had these tools, we knew how valuable it could be for us internally, but we didn't want to build a product that didn't make sense for the clients that were using it. So we went through a couple of sessions with really close clients. They gave us some fantastic feedback. They were part of the process that helped us build Node and the consulting frameworks on top. And I think it's an education process. I think what we've really found is the amount of conversations that we're having where people are unaware of what's out there in the market. And it's a huge opportunity for recruiters to differentiate themselves, differentiate their service. And I think we're going to go through a big education process with those clients over the next 9 to 12 months. But I'm excited for it. And I think that's the play around leading a disruptive organization, where if you're doing something totally different, you have to be prepared to take people through an education process. And we've had some excellent feedback. We've seen some great results from the way that Node has been implemented into CDMOs. And we're really excited for the next 12 to 24 months.
Yeah. It's a great journey. It's a great journey. In terms of then, and this question is a question that I ask all of the recruiters that I meet with, like in terms of what that means from a kind of a day-to-day, week-to-week or kind of campaign sort of basis around the business development you're doing. So you've done that piece of research, and we were quite, we had lots of conversations around how you can go around doing that. But talk me through maybe how your mindset around selling and business development has changed in the last kind of 18 months or so.
Totally different. Totally different. People often describe how they started a recruitment career like a Wolf of Wall Street environment. And I think as I've gone through that process of really truly understanding how clients want to deliver their message around hiring to their candidates, it transformed the way that we sell. I think over the 18 months, we've really realized that you need to have that consultative approach, but it has to be a differentiator. It can't just be the same old topic of we're consultative, we do X, Y, and Z. I think you really have to take clients and candidates through that journey, through those unique differentiators. And that's what we're doing. I think we're changing the approach around how do we get in front of clients? How do we deliver that value up front? And there's a couple of ways that we've done that. And whether that's delivering market maps, but really detailed information around these are communities that we've built over the past 6 to 7 years. And I think clients are really valuing that. knowing that we can be a true consultative partner to them. So yeah, it's drastically changed, and I think it will continue to change over the next 12 months when people start to realize the implementation of these AI tools layered with consulting. It can cut recruitment costs by 40% or up to 40%, whilst really increasing shareholder value, engagement, customer journeys. For us, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. I hear that. And yet, I also hear from recruiters all the time who say, no, look, we're consultative. We're a premium brand. We take a very high-quality approach. And there are clearly two pools of recruiters who say they're consultative, those who are really truly doing it and those who want to be seen that way. But there are those who are doing it. But the biggest challenge for them or struggle for them is to really get their clients to see them as consultative. Is there anything that you've been doing in terms of specifics around outreach or messaging or thinking about any of those sales dynamics that you've seen be effective from that perspective?
It's a great question. I think one thing that really comes to mind is the transparency. It really makes a huge difference. I think everyone saw that COVID boom where everyone was hiring like crazy and salaries were inflated. And I think when we quickly realized that that landscape was changing, we were really transparent with what we were doing. We've been really transparent with the messaging of what we deliver to candidates. What we have delivered to clients is almost a set of frameworks where they go, oh my God, I didn't realize that was the case. Can you tell us more? And it's like, how did we not do this 18 months ago? Why was we not as transparent as we are today? And I don't mind owning up to say we wasn't as transparent as we should have been 18 months ago. But it's just being upfront. It's being upfront with the data, the messaging, who's out there in the market. And I think one of the key elements that's really helped us is giving a solution if it doesn't work. There's a couple of examples where clients have asked us to find specific talent pools in an area, and there might only be 20 to 30 candidates available, and we might not get any. It just might be one of those situations. But giving them a solution is what's really changed the way that we sell. And it sounds so simple. Like 9 times out of 10, recruiters will just say, desperately try and find someone and kick the can down the road for 6 months.
Yeah.
We've been trying to give some unique solutions which have been enabled through the Node platform, and it's gone down really well. What have you seen where someone said, right, we want to change the way that we sell? How have you seen it change over the past 18 months?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing to reflect on. I mean, I think the stuff that we've done together has probably been a real reflection of the approach that I recommend recruiters take, which is, number one, know your market.
Yeah.
Number one, drill into who exactly do you want to sell to and exactly what do they need from you? Where are they going to see value? Number two, really get that messaging right. So one of the things that you've done so well, I think will really stand out for all of the audience, is those 3 pillars of technology, transparency, and transformation. And yes, there's the tools that you built in the background, but we've talked about this a lot offline, is that you've got to get that messaging really, really clear with the value to the client. And leaning into that message of transformation has been huge. I remember you sharing with me where you talked to a client about asking them the question, what's your vision for what recruitment for your business will look like in 18 months? And sort of sharing me, the client had sort of paused for about a minute or 2 minutes while they were kind of thinking about the answer to that question, and it really made them think. So now you're doing all of this. So it's the market, it's the message, and then it's the methodology. And then it's the piece around how do you email, how do you structure your calls, how do you structure your social outreach to convey not just about you can transact and fill roles, because ultimately you've got the best platform for doing that, but it's like it's the value add that's a real differentiator. That's what really excites me about the way that you've approached the market. You've implemented a lot of the stuff that we've discussed and shared, but you've done it from a place of, it's also really clear from what you share about that desire to help create that competitive advantage for your clients in the market.
Yeah, it's a true passion. It really is. I think I had a short career in 7 years, and the way that I've seen it change has been drastic. And I know that over the next 12 to 24 months, there is going to be such a major shift in the landscape. Some people will get left behind, and I think some people will really ride the wave. And we want to be the ones that help our clients ride that wave. And yeah, I'm just super passionate about how we can help CDMOs transform their hiring.
Amazing. So what's the, you started to kind of paint that picture of that vision and moving forward. Tell me a little bit about what you see, what's coming down the track for you in 2025, what challenges you see still ahead of you, where the things that you're still needing to work on, and yeah, what does the next 12 months look like for Molecular Search?
It's a great question.
It's a difficult question, right?
It's a very difficult question. I think
because it's moving so fast.
It is. And if I look at 12 months ago to where we are now, as a business, we're unrecognisable. And I think the couple of things that I think about is if your business looks and feels the same as it did 12 months ago, something has gone wrong. And I think that is so important for the next 12 months, where I drive Shay and my head of operations mad with the amount of new stuff that I bring to the table, just because we want to improve the process so much, and it's changing that quickly. I think the mission for us is to really take a set number of clients through that education process. I think with any of this, it's not a one-size-fits-all product. It is a real differentiator for CDMOs if they want to transform their hiring. And we want to partner with a select few to really go through that journey over the next 12 months. And I think if we fast forward 12 months and we're sitting in the same chair, we're going to see that process happen. We're going to see a number of CDMOs turn their hiring into a competitive advantage using Node. And I think I'd be really happy to see how the team's grown as well. Not from a headcount standpoint, just from their own personal development.
Yeah, right.
I think everyone has gone through such a drastic change where they're learning something new every day. It's not a repeatable process. And I'm really excited to see how the consulting frameworks are built out with yourself. I'm really excited to see how me, you, Shay, the rest of the team embark on that journey and really cause some disruption. There will be a lot of conversations around what does disruption mean over the next 12 months. I don't know, but I know that Node will be at the forefront of it.
I've shared this with you guys before, that even if what you're doing right now isn't the answer, right, which to all intents and purposes it looks as though it is, and based on the information and the tools we have available right now, it absolutely is. But even if the technology shifts on a gear or different things are possible and the options open up to you over the next 12 months, you're already evolved so much with the technology and brought it into your business so well that you're not only ahead of the curve, but also you've learnt the skills. I think that's the other thing that we haven't talked about in this session, is how much time you invested in learning how to put those skills together. And also, I've got to shout out, because we haven't done it enough already, but also talk about Michaela and the role that she's played and how important she's been to all of this, to keeping you on the straight and narrow, and having that ops director role and having Michaela in it, as from the sounds of things, been super important.
Can we touch on that?
Absolutely, please.
That's a fascinating story. First of all, with the time and the money spent to learn those skill sets is a grueling process. There's been a number of late nights, as expected, to try to learn these that doesn't disrupt anything that we were doing with our clients as we were going through that process. And I know Shay's had some late night texts from me. And going back to the back end point of the ops director, having a co-founder that I can really rely on, both of them have been fantastic. Shay has made 20 different iterations to this process. And without him, I wouldn't have had that skill or knowledge to push this forward. And of course, there's a huge shout out to Michaela. That ops director role is one of the most important roles in the business. I really believe that. I think Michaela's been with us on that journey as we've transformed from the minute we decided to embark on it to now. And I hope she'll be with us for the next 5 years. But she's been instrumental in managing some of those automations, managing the AI principles,